This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for March 30th, 2025. This is season 14, episode number 54, and episode number 493 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am your host, Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening. We've got a great show planned for you. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Danbury Hat home and home series that the Black Bears did sweep this weekend and did such a great job, just reacting in the right ways on the ice, up and down on Friday and on Saturday. And, we have a great guest for you, too. Dan Wieber, Lieutenant Dan, the practice captain, whatever you want to call him, it doesn't really matter. He goes out there and battles every single night for the Binghamton Black Bears and has really matured as a defenseman. And some of the areas of his game continue to just get a little bit better and better and better. But we'll have a nice long conversation with Weebs here on the show. And, the Black Bears did win both games this weekend. And there is something I want to bring up that I brought up this morning. If you read the day after game report on the Facebook page, I did write about a conversation that I had with Kyle Stephan. And Kyle Stephan and I had a conversation about a month and a half ago. And at this time, the team had only had, I think, 4 regulation losses. And this was before they lost the 19th game, what would have been the 19th game in a row to, obviously, the Blue Ridge Bobcats down in Wytheville, Virginia. And so, I was down by the locker room, and Kyle came out and came over, and he says hello. And this is, very typical for Kyle. Comes over, says hello to me, always has a smile on his face, shakes my hand, and we always have just a really nice conversation. And I asked him this question, right? Because, they were 14, maybe 15 games into the run, maybe even less than that. It might have been like 12 or 11. Either way, they were on a good winning streak at that point. And I said to him, can this team really end the season with less than 10 regulation losses? Right? And yeah, sure, if they lose out, they'll have 10 losses total, but one of them was in overtime. But we're talking about in that loss column, that regulation loss column, can the team really end with less than 10? He just gave me a one-word answer. That's it. He literally, with no hesitation, and he was quick to the point and said, yes. And he kind of reiterated last night to me after the game, after I brought this up to him, right? Because to me, this is what I've been trying to explain to people, is that this team is not cocky. And if they are cocky, they're cocky in the right way. They are very confident in everything about themselves. They're confident in the way they play, their skill set, their leadership group. Everything about this team exudes the right type of confidence. And it literally gets misconstrued by other organizations within the Fed, other fans within the Fed, thinking, oh, they're just cocky and they chirp way too much. Well, chirping is a part of hockey. And I am sure that you could find teams that have won championships in the last 10 years that people said, oh, they were too cocky, or they chirped too much, or they did this, or they did that. Well, the Black Bears are doing everything that all those teams that have won championships in all the various leagues over the last 10 years have done. Okay? And people have come at them, and they still win. That's the beautiful thing about this. You continue to try to get at the Black Bears. You continue to try to break them down. And one quote from Kyle Stephan from last night, I think is kind of the mantra of this team. The belief in this room is unmatched. That's what he said to me last night. I tried to have a conversation with him, right? The game is over. They're probably on the bus. They're trying to, head home. I'm trying to have a conversation. That's it. That's all he said to me. The belief in this room is unmatched. And it's the truth. It's all I've heard for almost 2 seasons now. Only 2 seasons. The culture in that room is that Branch Sherwood wants these guys to all get along and do their job. That's it. He doesn't want infighting. He doesn't want people to be so overly competitive with each other that it turns vile. Because that can happen sometimes in locker rooms. When you have one center and another center that just, want the most playing time, it can get bad. Branch Sherwood doesn't want that. He wants all of his guys to get along because that is what will create a championship. It's what created last year's championship, and this team is probably even closer than last year's team. And, I tried to bring that up with guys, in the last couple interviews that I've done with some of the players. None of the guys want to say that this team is closer than last year's team because last year's team was pretty damn close and they won a championship, and they don't want to exclude any of the guys, like Liam Anderson or Andrew Utero or Connor Smith, right? They don't want to say that they weren't close with those guys. They were, but it just feels like this team has less drama within the locker room this year than even last year. And they're going into the playoffs with this confidence. So I'm blown away that a team this day and age can win so many games in a season, regardless of how many games they play in the regular season, 56, 72, or 82 like in the NHL. This team is going to lose less than 10 games in regulation. That's huge. It's huge. I can't put enough emphasis on it. It's just another one of those things. Now, if they get 50, that's great. That means they'll be 55-1, which is just a crazy, crazy number. I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I've been waiting for the shoe to fall, right? I've been waiting for it. But when you have a mantra like the belief in this room is unmatched, that just blows my mind away. This team is so centered on one thing, which is winning each game one shift at a time and then getting themselves back to the promised land, the prize. The prize has been on the table for the Black Bears since the beginning of this season. It's what the leadership group, which Kyle Stephan is a part of, is all about. They only want to win a championship. And so it was a great thing. I wanted to put that out there for everybody to hear, from someone like Kyle Stephan, who's not a man of many words. He's not going to, rattle off a 10-hour debate with you. He will just say it the way it is, and he says it so eloquently a lot of times. And that's what I really like about Kyle Stephan. But I had to write about that because, again, it's hard as somebody who, like myself, who is a little bit journalistic, a little bit writing a column when I write these day after game reports. Sometimes I'm just trying to put stuff into perspective, right? But we've only had 6 losses this year. 6 losses. There's only been 6 losses, and sometimes you learn a lot from a loss. Sometimes you learn a lot from wins. You got to win from all of the aspects. Last night's game, Tyson Kirkby was back. He had a couple assists. Austin Thompson had 2 goals. All 3 lines scored. That's the amazing thing. And then you pencil in Scott Ramakers, who can play on the first line, second line, or third line, be impactful anywhere in the lineup. So can Zach Sirota. So can Chris Mott. Chris Mott, at one point, second line center when Steph was out. And they never missed a beat. this team continues to find ways to plug the holes whenever the hole shows up, and it's fine. And now they have 2 games that I think everybody in the league is going to be watching when they play against Athens down in Athens, Georgia, against the Rock Lobsters. And I think it's going to be a great 2-game series to see where Athens stands up. Listen, when Carolina came up to Binghamton, they played well. Binghamton played well. Austin Thompson got the only goal in that game. And they won a 1-0 game. Now, last night there was a game down in Columbus, Georgia. The HC Venom, who play them again, they've now beaten them 2 games in a row, I believe, against Columbus, which is, you're thinking about, wait a second here, isn't the Continental Division better than the Empire Division? And yet Hudson Valley went down there. HC Venom went down there, and they beat Columbus. Some people are saying that was a boring game. Okay, fine. It was a boring game because it wasn't Binghamton, and to be a 1-0 game. I don't find 1-0 games boring. I find them very interesting, and so I think it's one of those things where they go down there and they win these 2 games, and maybe Columbus is not the same team as they were last year. That's evident. I think Carolina is very close to the same team as they were last year. And now we're going to find out about Athens. What is Athens in this league? Are they going to be a first team that is going to win a division potentially and then go into the playoffs? Maybe make it to the finals, maybe get beat by maybe Carolina in their division finals. We'll have to see. But I think everybody's looking at this upcoming weekend against this upcoming midweek series against the Black Bears. Now, the Black Bears are flying down. Folks, don't worry about them. No bus worries. They are flying down to Athens, Georgia, and they will be, as fresh as they can be with just playing 2 games and then having only 3 games off before they play the first game on Wednesday. They are going to be ready for this, okay? There hasn't been an expense not, taken care of to make sure that the Black Bears are set for that. So, I don't know. It was a great weekend for the Black Bears. They won 2 games. I got a great quote out of Kyle Stephan that I think is like the mantra, which I think is very cool. So, you know what? EJ, rack that one up. Right? What a great quote for this team, right? Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard gets from Kyle Stephan. The belief in this room is unmatched. That right there is the quote of the week. I didn't need anything else. I didn't ask Brant Sherwood, what he thought. I mean, he watched. I know he was approached down in Danbury again by the staff, the team, the organizational staff down there, and potentially harassed. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this has to happen. I heard fans may have stepped in and assisted and basically said, stop it, the war is over, which I hope it is. I'd rather see stuff on the ice than off the ice. Anything that's off the ice is just pure garbage. And they have to stop it. Danbury has to stop it. Blue Ridge has to stop it. Any of these other teams. If that is how you're going to try to beat somebody, and that's what I'm kind of alluded to earlier in the beginning of this, right? Beat a team on the ice. Stop trying to beat a team off the ice in that sense. Teams in this league should be working together to try to make the league better, to try to get more fans in the seats. Not trying to tear a team down because you can't beat them on the ice. It's got to stop that. If this league is going to succeed, and it needs to succeed for some of these cities to still have hockey in the future, then that kind of stuff has to stop. Stop dragging people's names through the mud that you don't need to even worry about. So, folks, the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Power Play Post Show, and please hit that join button. Answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, I'm probably not going to let you in. If you're listening to this, there's 3 questions. It's really simple. And it tells me if you're real or not. And this is how I sort out the good and the bad from people coming in. Because, again, the Facebook group is meant for my media, my being able to give you guys information, news, updates about the Binghamton Black Bears, or even some things in the Fed as well. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, as I mentioned earlier, Binghamton Black Bears defenseman Dan Wieber. Okay, so before we get to the Wieber conversation, we are going to look at, and I'm going to talk about this first, right? So the 2 games that obviously played really probably didn't have much of an effect on Binghamton at all, just kept the streak going. They're now up to winning 7 games in a row. But they are now 46-5-1. If they lose their next 4 games in regulation, they would still be 46-9-1. Phenomenal season. I do not see them losing their next 4 games. If they lose a game, it's going to be to Athens, just because of the crazy scheduling and because Athens might be good enough to beat the Binghamton Black Bears, right? You give a team 2 chances to beat another team, and that team is equally as good. I mean, Athens still has 5 games left to play. Binghamton has 4 games left to play, right? The Black Bears have 134 points right now. The Athens has 5 games left to play, right? Those 5 games times 15, they could get to 127 points. So they aren't that far off. They've only lost 8 times in regulation, which is great. They could end up also not losing. I mean, unless Binghamton wins 2 games in regulation and that knocks them to 10, they could be that close to that number too, right? But the Black Bears are, without a doubt, not losing more than 9 regulation losses, which is so impressive. But let's look at the standings, because as I said, I want to look at these standings every Sunday until the end of the season. Binghamton right now, obviously in first place with 134 points. They have 46 wins, 5 losses, and 1 overtime loss, which was technically a shootout loss in Danbury to Josh LaBelle, who scored in the 8th round. The Black Bears right now, and folks, this is the crazy number. There's so many crazy numbers that are going to come out of this season, right? Their winning percentage right now is .859. That is the only thing that I will allow people to compare in Binghamton hockey history is winning percentage, because it's the only true, real fair factor that you can kind of compare numbers, right? So the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers, phenomenal season, 57 wins. Black Bears don't even play 57 games in a regular season, right? So you can't compare wins. You can't compare points, because the Black Bears can get 3 points per win. Back in the Ranger days, you could only get 2 points. So you have to look at winning percentage, right? It's the only thing that kind of separates all the other garbage and says, how did this team's performance do in this one season? And by far, I think the highest number that any other Binghamton hockey team has had is 775. So you cannot compare anything but the winning percentage, and they are blowing that away. If they win the championship, boom, I'm ranking them right there. Right there is one of the best seasons ever in Binghamton hockey history. Does it mean they're better than the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers? I think if you put the 2 teams up against each other, and you play it in a 7-game series, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about like Corey Hirsch and some pretty talented guys who played in the NHL, right? So you can't compare stuff like that. So you got to look at just winning percentage, and it's pretty impressive with .859. Probably one of the best that the Fed has ever seen as well, right? But the other number that just kind of blows my mind here, they have 266 goals scored, and right now with 4 games left, They've doubled the amount that they've given up, which is 133. So right now, with 4 games left, they have scored 266 goals and only allowed 133. They've more than doubled what the other teams have done. So Danbury is in second place right now. They lost their last 2, obviously, to the Binghamton Black Bears. They are now 30, 14, and 8 with 93 points. There's no catching. They haven't been able to catch in weeks. The Port Huron Prowlers are the more interesting team right now. That is, I'm just kind of blown away by this a little bit, right? The Prowlers have won 9 games in a row. Okay? They are just playing good hockey. They're beating anybody that is in their way. They're just beating them defensively, offensively, power play. It doesn't matter. They are getting it done right now. And they're in third place, having won 9 games in a row. And I can tell you right now, Danbury is going to be, when they play each other in the playoffs, and it is very possible that Port Huron has the home ice advantage. They both have 4 games left, and Port Huron has 90 points. Danbury has 93 points. There you go. That's 3 points. That's just 1 win difference, and Port Huron is tied with them. Okay? So Port Huron right now has 30 wins, 16 losses, and 6 overtime losses. So Watertown, 4th place in the Empire Division. They have right now 24 wins, 20 losses, and 3 overtime losses. Let's try that one more time because I screwed that up. They have 27 wins, 20 losses, and 3 overtime losses. You got to do simple math while you're doing a podcast here, and sometimes doing 2 things at once is not always that easy. Now, Motor City is trying to keep hold of the playing game position, which I think they're going to have that. I've been told Monday is more than likely going to be the playing game. After the regular season's over with, there will be a play-in game for the 4th seed and the 5th seed. That should be right now Watertown and Motor City. More than likely, it'll be in Watertown. Maybe next week I'll check to see where Watertown plays and Motor City plays at the end of the season to see how that's going to affect it, right? Because if you end the season on Saturday, you're going to have a travel day for one of those 2 teams. More than likely, obviously, Motor City traveling to Watertown for the play-in game. But you have HC Venom, who's now won 2 in a row. They play again against Columbus a little bit later on today, as I'm recording this here in the morning on Sunday. And they've won 2 in a row, right? They've got 13 wins, 32 losses, and 3 overtime losses for 39 points. They're 10 points behind Motor City. I don't see them catching them. I know a lot of other people need to talk about it because it's good for whatever, ratings, I guess. But I don't think HC Venom's going to get there. It's unfortunate, too, because I would love to see a second season of MJ Merkel behind the realms of trying to run that team, but with a more consistent and stable environment. I don't know if that's going to happen, unfortunately, and I don't even think MJ knows either. The Danville Dashers are already out of the playoffs, so this doesn't really matter. They've lost their last 4 since they won their second game of the season. They are 46-3 with only 9 points. And again, they're out of it. Winston-Salem has a 1-point lead over Athens, but Athens has played 1 less game, so there are 3 points there for them to kind of leapfrog when they do play against the HC Venom today. Now, if the Venom win, that means that with the same amount of games played, Athens will still be 1 point behind Winston-Salem. Now, we talked about Columbus a little bit earlier. They have 86 points. They are 29-15-4. This is just not the same team as it was last year. I think they could be dangerous, though, depending on who they play in the first round of the playoffs. If it is Carolina, of course, we're going to expect, obviously, some interesting stuff between those 2 teams. If they play against Athens, I have a feeling Athens will just roll over the River Dragons. They're just not the same team as they were. Now, Blue Ridge has pulled into 4th place solidly, but Baton Rouge has played 3 less games. So I don't know if Whitfield can say, hey, we have fourth place right now, lockdown. Not even close. Baton Rouge still has 3 games at hand. Matter of fact, Baton Rouge has 7 games yet to play. And so that's 7 games in these last few weeks. So they have obviously some work to do these last couple weeks, really. I guess we're at the end of this week, so there's really technically 2 weeks left in the regular season. And Baton Rouge still has either 3 games in 3 nights and then something in the midweek. Their schedule is going to be jammed here, because a lot of teams are already at 50 or more games played, right? Poughkeepsie, more than likely, or HC Venom may fall short and only play 54 games. We'll see what happens there. But that's the standings. That's the important part that we needed to talk about, because it obviously matters. So let me get into the games that we just witnessed, obviously, between the Black Bears and the Danbury Hat. They win both games in the home-and-home series versus, obviously, the Hat. The Black Bears win on Friday night 6-3 at home in front of their 8th sellout crowd of the season. So we're already over 110,000. Got 2 more home games left. I'm hoping for another sellout. It would be great to get like a 9th sellout. That would be awesome. I mean, if you guys can sell out the arena 2 more times this upcoming weekend and get to 10 double-digit sellouts, I don't think I've seen that in a long time. Probably not since the first year of the Binghamton Senators have we seen a double-digit sellouts in one season. All right, in the first period, the Black Bears and the Hat Tricks went scoreless. So no goals, obviously, on Friday night. The 2 teams played a physical first period. The Wieber fight happened after his hit on Johnny Ruiz. You cannot blame Chase Harwell for stepping in and taking on Weebs. I think if Wieber had better footing, we would have seen a better fight. It just was one of those fights where they really quickly got tied up. But then there was a loss of balance for both guys, and they started to go down. I'm not saying that Harwell didn't, probably get the better of Wieber, but without a doubt, it just was not a good fight for either guys. Black Bears possessed the puck for a decent amount of the period. I think more shots were sent towards McCollum's net, but the Hat-Tricks defensive blocked a few. Josh Newberg later in the period had C-Mac crossing over east to west, and he missed an open net. I bet you Newberg is wishing he could get that one back and have a better shot, because that would have been the first goal of the game there. I'm wondering if this game will get more physical, or if the Black Bears can open up the game a little bit. And there's more to that. Right? Shots on goal in the first period, Binghamton 12, Danbury 6. In the second period, the Hat-Tricks got on the score sheet first with a goal from Alexander Veselev, just 1:55 into the middle period. Chase Harwell gets the Hat-Tricks' second goal of the game at the 6:15 mark of the second period, putting the Empire Division second-place team up 2-0 over the Black Bears. Dan Wieber scored his second goal of the season just 56 seconds after the Harwell goal, getting the Black Bears to within 1 at the 7:11 mark. The Black Bears then tied the game up with Chris Mott's 13th goal of the season at the 16:32 mark of the period. With Kyle Stephan in the box for interference, Austin Thompson scored his 30th goal of the season, putting the Black Bears up over the Hat Tricks with 1:57 left to go in the second period. So no scoring in the first, and then we get a ton of scoring in the second period. And, of course, the Austin Thompson goal, that was the Black Bears' 15th shorty of the year. He's got 4 shorthanded goals himself this season. Pretty impressive. Now, the first goal of the game for Veselev, there are pictures circulating, and you can make the judgment yourself, but I think there were too many men on the ice for the Hat Tricks. It was clear as day, 2 seconds, about like a second and a half to 2 seconds afterwards, a screenshot image was sent to me, and it was circled, and it had 6 guys on the ice for the Hat Tricks. They were not on the power play. I think it was a screw-up when it came to replacing guys on and off, and the 2 guys that were in the neutral zone weren't next to the Hat Tricks bench. This is not I'm not picking on the hat tricks here, right? This stuff happens all the time. Too many men on the ice just happens. Confusions, whatever you want to call it, blah, blah, blah. This is on the referees for not catching it. You got to catch it. Come on, you guys got to catch that stuff. That was clearly an illegal goal, but you got to catch that stuff. It doesn't mean the referees are on the Black Bear side or the hat trick side or whatever. Stop all that nonsense. Fans, you guys talk about that way too much. You're so worried about whose side the referees are on. Just let it go. There was a shot that looked like it had gone into the net, but the replay showed that it hit the post. That's the one everyone was kind of like all up in arms on in Binghamton. Oh, my God, that went in the net. When you saw the replay, because it did look like it went in the net. Real time, it looked like it. But the referees got that 100% right. It hit the post. It bounced out. But it looked like it had – I mean, that puck was coming in so fast. It looked like it hit the back of the net and then popped out. But it actually hit the post and then come out. As soon as someone scored, the goals started to come. 3 in the matter of 5-ish minutes, 2 for the hat tricks, 1 for the Black Bears. And again, I was up in the press box, and I said to the guys, wait until the first goal hits. As soon as the first goal hits, it doesn't matter what team scores the first goal, it's going to open up the dam, and the Black Bears will change their game and start playing like they normally do. They were playing pretty good defensively. They were, trying to keep things in check, and they were controlling some of the puck possession, but then all of a sudden they score a goal. Danbury gets a second goal, and then boom, and they took off after that. Yes, they were missing passes and turning the puck over, but C-Max was making the important saves. The hat tricks have been playing well the last 2 months, and this is a different team. But the Black Bears seem to always find a way. The third period will be huge, and it was. Binghamton 16, Danbury 9. Totals was Binghamton 28 and Danbury 15 after 40 minutes of play. Okay, in the third period, just 3:30 into the third period after C.J. Stubbs stole the puck in the neutral zone, carried it in pretty much all by himself over on the right-hand side, right? His slap shot beat McCollum for the Black Bears' 4th goal of the game. This wasn't all for the Black Bears. Austin Thompson scored his 2nd goal of the game, 10:29 into the final period, making this a 5-2 game. Then Cameron Clark scored the Black Bears' 6th goal of the game with 4:15 left to go in the game. Johnny Ruiz made it a 3-goal game with just 3:28 to go, but the Black Bears held it down the rest of the way, winning their 6th game in a row and their 45th game of the season, and they 6-3. So, and what's interesting about it is like once the Black Bears got that first goal from Dan Wieber, they literally just kept going. They didn't stop, and that's the hard part for some of these teams coming in and playing against Binghamton. They just don't stop. They just keep playing, and keep playing well, and then scoring goals. And then they sometimes they score them in bunches. And this one felt like it was stretched out amongst the 2 periods. So I don't know. The CJ Stubbs goals was a big time goal. The Black Bears are expecting from him, steal the puck in the neutral zone, time and space, and the quality of shot for the goal. It was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot. And McCollum had no chance on that one. I mean, he saw it clear as day, but he had no chance. The Black Bears, since the 2-goal lead that the hat tricks had, have limited the hat tricks' quality chances. 100% true. They were basically taking over the game. The Black Bears started mid-second period to dictate the game and the pace. Now, it was brought to my attention the hat tricks had 6 men on the ice. I found out about the first goal not until the third period. There were a lot of physicality about what was disappointing was that Noah Robinson came off the bench with the sole purpose of fighting and did not complete a hockey play. Sound familiar? Yep, Bryce Farrell from last year. But will he be suspended for 6 games? Oh, he was. The Black Bears fought 3 times tonight, came back from down 2-0 and still scored 6 unanswered goals until the hat trick scored their 2nd goal. Their 3rd goal of the game. This was their 6th win in a row. Connor McNamara saved 22 of 25 shots for his 29th win of the season. He's going to get to 30, folks. He's going to win 30 games, which is 62, 63% of the games. That's crazy. Great number. The Black Bears improved to 45-5-1 and now have 131 points after Friday night's game. And with 5 games left to go in the regular season, shots on goal, Binghamton 20, Danbury 10, for totals of Binghamton 48, more close to their average, and Danbury 25. All right, let's just summarize Friday night's game. Black Bear Storm back, going down by 2, win 6-3. Austin Thompson scored 2 goals in the game, foreshadowing for Saturday maybe, including a shorthanded goal. CJ Stubbs scored the game-winning goal and had an assist for 2 points. Cameron Clark scored a goal and assist for 2 points. Chris Mott scored his 13th goal of the season. Boy, your third-line center's got 13 goals. I don't know. Pretty good. Dan Wieber scored his 2nd goal of the season, and, well, guess what? We'll be a guest here later on the Power Play Post Show. And by the way, I'm going to throw this out there. So a lot of times guys will come on the show, and sometimes there's a good percentage, a high percentage that they scored the next weekend, right? So Dan and I recorded on Thursday. Brooks Hill says this doesn't count because we're not airing the interview until today, but we recorded it on Thursday before the Danbury series, right? So it still counts, right? I think it does. The Black Bears improved to 45-5-1 and now have 131 points with 5 games left to go in the regular season. Of course, then the next game was on Saturday. The Black Bears then traveled to Danbury to face off against the Hat-Tricks on their Ring of Honor night, playing the Spoilers 5-2. Winning their 7th game in a row. Now, before we get into the game itself, the Ring of Honor ceremony, a good friend of mine, Phil Jubileo, who has been a guest on the Power Play Post Show in the past, and even more recently a couple years ago when I brought the show back, 19 times. I am so very... any recognition, any honor, any love that Phil Jubileo gets. He was the broadcaster for 2 years with the Trashers back in the days. You could see Phil talking even in the Netflix documentary special about the Trashers. He is just a great guy. Any young broadcaster that gets to spend time with him, please do so. He is absolutely a wealth of knowledge. He's been in good situations, bad situations. He's called big games. He was a part of the national championship last year, Quinnipiac. He's their radio broadcaster. So this is a guy who just is someone great to be around, and I appreciate my friendship. I can reach out to him almost any given time and talk to him about anything that I want to. I absolutely love that man. He's great, and he deserved that honor. I don't know if there's an honor in Bridgeport, but he should get it because he was there for a very long time and did such a great job for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers back in the AHL days. All right. In the first period, the Black Bears didn't take long to get on the scoreboard with Austin Thompson's 3rd goal of the weekend, just 3:24 into the opening period. Just as Froloff penalty ended, the Black Bears were deep in front of Connor McCollum, and Kyle Stephan tapped in a rebound off a Jesse Anderson shot to make this a 2-0 game at the 12:48 mark of the first period. And what I was thinking at this point, when they scored the 2nd goal, I was like, holy crap. I was like, Danbury scored that late period goal Friday night. Johnny Ruiz, there was a big, huge celebration by Johnny Ruiz, like they just won the cup or whatever. I don't know. That's what some of the fans were saying. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is a good move by Johnny. First, he scores the goal, and then he just like kind of lives it up a little bit. That's how you get into the heads of the Black Bears, right? You kind of get them out there like, well, what the hell is this guy doing, celebrating like he is? No Selly, when you're down 6-3, technically 6-2, but whatever. And you can't Selly like that, right? But he did. And I thought it might have an effect. But again, it didn't. Zach Sirota then scored his 12th goal of the season to put the Black Bears up 3-0 with a 6:18 left to go in the period. Oh, by the way, that was the first line, the second line, and the third line scoring 1, 2, 3 in the first period. pretty impressive. The Black Bears get their first power play of the game, which they did not convert due to the pregame warm-up violation penalty. So they started off with a man up, but they did not score on it. Thompson scored the first goal of the game and his third of the weekend, which, again, noted. We'll talk about him again in a little bit. The Black Bears responded to Johnny Reese's third period goal last night with 3 goals in the first period tonight. I'm sorry. I think that was great. I like that Kirkby dropped the gloves with Corey Anderson. However, I am unsure why he left the playing surface unless he was injured in the fight. No additional penalties happened, and he went in with 5 minutes left. When his 5 minutes would have been over, he would have had 43 seconds left. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he had an equipment failure as well. The grade A scoring changes for the hat trick have been way limited. When Eggy in the first period, I don't think was challenged as much as he was in the second and third period. Whereas the Black Bears have done what they did last night. The diagonal crisscross through the slot, skating in front of the hat trick's netminder, McCollum. Basically, when the shots came, they've had men in front of the net. They did good things last night and on Friday night. Then there was the 1953 penalty to Wieber. First, it was assessed as a legal check to the head 5-minute major. Now, when I looked at the video, because when they went into the intermission, I started rewinding and I watched it like 5 times. Now, when I looked at the video and reviewed the play, you can see Dan's stick go down and make contact with Josh Newberg. It looks like to me he hit him with his stick in between where the jersey and the helmet would be on the back of the neck. And not forcibly either. You can see it just goes down. Penalty? Absolutely. Major? I don't think so. No, they did change the illegal check to the head to a slashing major. I still don't think it's a major, but it was more of a slash than the other. It definitely was not an illegal check to the head because he didn't hit the head. He didn't hit the head. Your neck is a different body part than your head. Now, again, I still think, you have to call the penalty there, right? Sure. But if you think about it, and how many times have you seen a player fall to the ice, right? Josh Newberg was on the ice, not because of Dan Wieber, but he was on the ice. And then the player goes up to the back of his jersey, right, on the numbers, and kind of holds him down, kind of pushes him down. I think Wieber's instinct was to do something very similar to that. It wasn't to injure the guy. It wasn't to do anything kind of crazy like that. And so I think that's what was being attempted there. And he just missed the mark, and he got him in the back of the neck. And again, I still don't think it's a 5-minute major. I don't think there's going to be any repercussions coming to Dan for this. I think that 5-minute major for slashing probably will be left alone. So that'll be good. Shots on goal in the first period was Binghamton 25, Danbury 8. Second period, with Dan Wieber still in the penalty box on the major penalty, Connor Woolley scored the hat trick's first goal of the game, 2:17 into the middle period. Nicholas Swain scored his 4th goal of the season in just 5 games played with the Black Bears, making this a 3-goal lead again for the visiting team at the 7:36 mark. Now, I think the Black Bears responded well, right? Obviously, Connor Woolley gets the power play goal at the 2:17 mark, and then a little bit less than 5 minutes later, the Black Bears take a 3-goal lead again. It's a good response. They went out there and they just worked hard again, found an opportunity, and Nicholas Swain, who's done a phenomenal job since he's joined the Black Bears, did a pretty good job there. The hat trick's Connor Woolley scored the power play goal that Wieber was in the box for the illegal check to the head, a.k.a. slashing penalty, and Eggy came out pretty far. Was not able to come back, and the Black Bears were not able to get the clear. So, Eggy came out to the left side of the net pretty far to kind of make a save, and then the puck was not controlled. And even though there was a couple of our guys like in almost trying to block the goalie, the goal net, it didn't matter. Connor Woolley was able to get it by. The intensity started to build up in the middle after the period was over with. So after the power play for Dan Wieber's slashing major, the intensity of the game really started to pick up. At the 7:53 mark, best save for Nolan on the hat tricks. How They came in streaking in really fast, and he did one of his windmill saves, and it was just good. And I don't always point out goalie saves or things that goalies always do, but Nolan had some pretty. I mean, I think Nolan was determined to win that game. I think it could have been a 6-5 game. And we would still be talking about the saves that Nolan Egbert made. He made some really good saves, especially in the third period as well. The Hat-Tricks owned the third period or the second period. Yes, both teams scored a goal, but they did own the puck possession, I think, for the majority. I wouldn't say the majority. They had more than 50% puck possession and the shots on goal for the 20 minutes. At the end of the period, the Black Bears were down 2 men with 2 late penalties, but they were able to kill the first penalty, and they will need to kill 28 more seconds going into the third period, either on an Emery slashing penalty or a Nolan Egbert tripping that we don't know. They were kind of a little confused on the penalties that they entered in. Shots on goal, Binghamton 11, Danbury 14, which is a rare loss for the Black Bears not owning the shots on goal. But Binghamton still led 36-22 at the end of 40 minutes. In the third period, just 4:32 into the final period, the Hat-Tricks pulled this game to within 2 goals again as Alexander Vasilev, honestly, his only legit goal of the weekend, scored his second goal of the weekend against the Black Bears, making this a 4-2 game. I'm only kidding. I don't care that there were 6 men on the ice. If anything, it was, more impressive that it took them 6 men to do that. But, all right, moving on. Austin Thompson sealed the deal with an empty net goal, his second of the game, 4th of the weekend, giving the Black Bears a 5-2 win and winning their 46th win of the season. Austin Thompson does not have an A on his chest, but he is a leader on this team. I want to make that perfectly clear. He is a leader. But then I think there's like 19 leaders on this team, maybe even more than that with the college rookies. The Hat-Tricks are trying to pick up the pace of the game, and they were looking for opportunities to score. I think Danbury, you could sense that they were trying to push the issue, and it just wasn't working. The Hat-Tricks are just getting all the good chances throughout a good portion of that period, and at least through the first 14-ish minutes. And then the Black Bears kind of like dug in, which was good. Later in the third period, the Black Bears started to control the pace of the game and the puck possession. Danbury took their timeout. With 2:23 left to go in the game, the Hat-Tricks pulled McCollum for the extra attacker. Then, with 1:30 to go, Coach Fletcher called his timeout. The Hat-Tricks tried valiantly, but the Black Bears still played better team defense, made the plays when they needed to, and when Austin is on the ice with an empty net, he generally finds it. Nolan Egbert earned his 15th win of the season, saving 32 of 34 shots. And I'd have to say there was a flurry a couple of different times where the Hat-Tricks just really peppered him with some shots, and he just was outstanding. The Black Bears win their 46th game in a row, or 46th game of the season, and they are now 46-5-1 and have 134 points. Crazy, awesome season, and they've won 7 in a row again. I mean, and they could technically win double digits a second time if they can win the next 3 games. It's crazy. Black Bears will have a quick turnaround with 2 games midweek against Athens down in Georgia on Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll see how that goes. Shots on goal, Binghamton 10, Danbury 12. So they lost 2 periods in the shots on goal department, but they win the game 5-2. Totals 46 for Binghamton, Danbury 34. All right, so let's summarize this game. Black Bears win in Danbury 5-2. Kyle Stephan scored his 15th goal of the season and had an assist for 2 points. Zach Sirota scored his 12th goal of the season, and I think the Zach attack is starting to pick up a little bit for him. Nicholas Swain scored his 4th goal of the season in just 5 games played, and he's going to make Coach Sherwood really push to get him into the playoff roster, I'm sure. Austin Thompson scored his 32nd and his 33rd goals of the season. Nolan Egbert earned his 15th win of the season, saving 32 with 34 shots. The Black Bears win their 46th game, and they are now 46-5-1 and have 134 points. Black Bears will have a quick turnaround. 2 games midweek against Athens down in Georgia. Okay, so, listen, Dakota came back. I don't think he was a big factor. He played well, I thought, in Friday's game. Yet last night's game, I don't think he was that much of an impact in the game. And Tyson came back and really wasn't a big impact. But, man, this team just keeps winning. The guys come out, they come in. Tyson had an assist in the game last night. Again, it's just the way it is. And then you'll go down to Athens, and who knows? We've seen this before. If Tyson doesn't have an impact in the game for a couple games, he comes back and then boom, it's just there it is, pow. So pretty awesome weekend for the Black Bears. Obviously, a home-and-home series against Danbury, always tough, and it was just a great outing for the boys. So hey, listen. With that being said, let's get to my interview with my good friend, Dan Wieber, defenseman for the Binghamton Black Bears. Folks, I do want to mention real quick, I am going to be doing an interview with Mason Esworthy. He helped out Brant Sherwood this season with this team with some assistant coaching. He was behind the bench a couple times, did some video work for them. And he just got hired to Elmira College to become the new club head coach, the head coach of the club team there. We're going to talk to Mason on Monday and give you guys that interview with a preview of the Athens games on Tuesday. So you'll have a new show on Tuesday, and then we're going to do something for the weekend to give you guys something to listen to this upcoming weekend. Probably, hopefully, a couple interviews with a couple people, maybe not associated with the Black Bears, because let's be honest, the Black Bears are going to get done with the Athens games no matter what happens, and they're going to take some time off. They're going to take a few days off. They're going to have a weekend off, which they don't normally get, and the guys are going to go enjoy themselves. So I'm not going to bother anybody after Thursday's game. They're going to obviously come back on Friday, probably have some time off, and good for them. So we'll have a show, though, for you. So a show on Tuesday, and, of course, then a show on Friday as well. All right, so coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, he is Dan Wieber of the Binghamton Black Bears. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Really excited to have this gentleman on. He comes to us from the Binghamton Black Bears. He's playing in his second full year with the Black Bears defenseman, Dan Wieber. Weebs, welcome back to the show. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Bobby. Excited to be back.
So, obviously, a great season for the Black Bears. And honestly, I don't know if anyone could have said, oh, it's going to be better than last year. And I know that you guys haven't won a championship yet. We haven't even played a first playoff game. So let's not get the horse before the cart and all. But this has been a pretty good season for the Black Bears. Talk a little bit about, your thoughts of this season so far.
It's been a really fun season. I mean, winning games and everything makes the room and everyone around you happier, makes things go smoother. Everyone's in a better mood. No one's upset from losing, or people may be upset how they played, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're winning games, so just kind of shrug it off and worry about it on your own time. So, and then we show a lot of resilience and a lot of heart throughout our team, and coming back in Watertown down 4-0 in the first period, and Coach Josh Fletcher talked to the guys, said, got to figure it out, take a deep breath, nothing to worry about. We're doing the right things, and things will fall into place. And that's exactly what happened. Yates starts us off early. The guys looked around, like, this is possible. Looked at each other, and then next thing you know, second one falls, third one falls, tied game. Then we just went from there. And then it was all smiles in the locker room afterwards, like, can you believe we were losing that game? And it was in a night. That Watertown game was just a turning point. We had a lot of young guys in the roster with the suspensions from Blue Ridge. So it was a good squad to have a lot of heart and you know what I mean? Just smiles all the way on the bus ride home, in the locker room. Great time, great experience with those guys.
What's it like to have someone like Josh Fletcher, who knows pretty much all the guys really well, came into this season a little late because of obviously his visa issues, but he's behind the bench. I can't imagine he's saying too much when he's behind the bench, but is there some, vocalization of what he's seeing? Because one of the things I've said to people a lot is the reason why you always want to have a head coach behind the bench is they see certain things on the ice that players can't see because they're in the moment, right? Was there any, when Fletch was behind the bench for 2 games, looking dapper in his suits and all, was there stuff that he was able to relay to you guys that he was seeing that helped?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that he said that I especially remember is the middle's open, and he was right. I mean, we made a couple plays early on through the middle and broke the puck out really successfully. Even in the offensive zone, we found guys in the middle and we had great scoring opportunities. And so they were clogging the walls. So Fletch was like, hey, let's use the middle. It's open. Just low and slow, be patient, find that open ice in the middle. It's there. And what do you know, come back, and we just come back on Saturday and on Friday, kind of the same thing. I mean, we find the open ice, score a bunch of goals, break the puck out efficiently. Yeah, he's a smart hockey player. He knows what's going on, and he knows when to speak up, when not to. I mean, we're a well-oiled machine at this point, so a lot of the guys have played a lot of games, so we know what's going on. We know what to do. I'd say it's a fairly easy job for Fletcher to fill in for those games. Not much was going on.
No, absolutely. When Tyson is not in the lineup, and he's either called up to the ECHL or he's suspended as he is right now, and he's got one more game to his 3-game suspension. You kind of take like the role during warm-ups and whatnot. I know there's the Lieutenant Dan nickname, practice captain, whatever you want to call it. Is there partly some leadership on your shoulders for this team, whether it be in warm-ups or practice or in the locker room, even though you're just almost done with your second full year? Do you feel like there's a little bit of leadership on your shoulders?
I don't know. I'd like to think so, but we have so many leaders on the team. It doesn't just fall on Kirks, just on Ando, just on Yates, or just on Bond. I mean, Dan Stone's a great leader. Steph also a great leader, and then Stubbs, Dale, and then you have a bunch of just guys with a bunch of that know what they're doing. And so the warm-up thing is just, I don't have any stereotypes or things I have to do before game. Mm-hmm. So I just and I'm really observant of what other people like to do before games. So if Kirks is out, I know what he does and what other people like to do. So it's just an easy fit for me to fill in.
Was it something that you just naturally did, or was it asked of you to do that?
It never really came a thought until we were getting ready for the first game where Kirks wasn't there, and we looked around like, who's doing warm-ups? Who knows how to do it, or like the times and everything, because you got to go to the nets at different times. Sure. Let guys shoot around. So I was like, I kind of know what's going on. I know what to do. So I just did the first game. Tomer got mad at me because I messed up his routine, but after that, I think I've nailed it every time since.
I can see Tomer getting upset about the small little things and everything. I love Tomer, and he listens to the show religiously, so I can pick on him a little bit about that. Dan, when you guys were winning 18 games in a row, was there a part of that streak where you guys thought, we're never going to lose again?
I mean, I would love to. I mean, in the moment, yeah, you're looking back like, wow, those are great games, but you look at one game at a time. I'm not at 17 games looking at like, we got to get 20. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting at 17 games like, we got to get 18. We can't sit at 18 and think about 20. We got to think about one at a time. And Blue Ridge got one from us. there's nothing to hang our heads about that game. It's hockey. You can't win them all, especially when we're going down in their building and playing 3. So nothing to hang our heads about. But winning games is awesome. 18 in a row is such a good, fortunate streak for us. So hopefully from here out we can get another little streak going. But if we can't, we can't. There's nothing about it. If we lose, we just got to keep going. There's more games after that.
Yeah, with last year's team, if you remember correctly, you guys lost 4 in a row in March and then came back and won 13 straight and won the championship, right? I think CMAC, when it said to you guys in the locker room, I'm not losing again, and then you guys didn't lose again. So it's almost like that loss in Blue Ridge, even though it kind of led to a really kind of crappy game on Sunday where you guys did win, but it kind of affected a little bit of the roster for the next few weeks. That loss is almost like, hey, here's the kick in the ass that we don't want to do this again. We don't want to feel that way again after a game, and let's go win out. Kind of like last year. It almost seemed like the right time, if that makes any sense at all.
There's never a right time to lose.
Of course not.
But, I'd rather have it be then than later on in the season. But there's not much we can do. There's never a good time to lose. I'd love to have what would be on 24-game win streak right now, but that couldn't have happened. It didn't happen, so there's nothing we can really do about it now. Look forward and try to create a new streak.
So let me get your thoughts on that Sunday game down in Wytheville. You guys had obviously lost the night before, and then the Bobcats kind of came out even maybe a little bit more physical than they had the 2 games beforehand. And you guys kind of had to react because in some cases you guys were being, kind of like jumped in certain situations. What is your take on a game like that where it seems like you guys are trying to play hockey and the other team may not be?
Well, being physical is a big part of hockey. There's nothing wrong with a good physical game. That's how teams win the Stanley Cup. They go out there and they're physical every time, every shift. But when you're going out there and jumping guys after whistles or jumping guys when they're not paying attention and what they did, it blew my mind. That was embarrassing to be a part of and just witness. Mm-hmm. I watched all 5 guys just drop their gloves and chase our guys around the ice.
Yeah, literally. And
then they celebrated like they had won the game.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, because you guys were literally, all 5 of the guys that were on the ice were retreating back into the zone. I think Dakota Bond was out there. Dan Stone was out there. Dan Stone doesn't, I guess he could drop the gloves and probably, take someone on. But it's not normally his game. It's not part of his game at all. Kirks is probably the guy that was on the ice, and maybe, not even Cam Clark. That was like Kirky's, second fight of his career? So
that was his first fight the night before.
Yes.
It was so you go there, and that Clarky's not fired.
No.
Kirks isn't afraid. Stubbs, he's not afraid, but he's not. He'd rather be playing hockey.
But
everyone on the ice would rather be playing hockey than
what happened there
and doing what happened. It was out of lack of words for what happened there.
Well, and my thought process was, okay, so the team that gets punished the most is the team that reacts to being jumped, and it's just a crazy situation. Had you ever been a part of a game, whether it been in college or high school, that ever was like that?
No, that was the most slap shot hockey game I've ever been a part of in my life.
That's crazy.
In juniors, I played in NA3. Didn't always play the best kids, and that's kind of what you get when you don't play the best kids. But nothing ever came to that.
Mm.
That was insane. I don't have the words for it
now
for this podcast.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm kind of curious about this, though. What was the bus ride back? Was there a lot of conversation about it? Did guys not really talk about it much? Not that you have to tell me anything that anybody said, but just kind of, was there conversation about it? Did guys talk about it? Or was it more of everybody was in, shock that kind of happened?
I mean, it's exactly the conversation like we just had. Like, we're like, what just happened?
Right.
We're like, that was ridiculous. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
We had to go, like, we went back and watched it 4 or 5 times because we still didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And like, but after we talked about it for a good 20 minutes, but after that, everyone was wanting to just go home. Everyone's sleeping.
Yeah.
We picked Fletch up from the hospital, and we just want to get home.
Yeah, and I think Dakota had a serious gash above his right eye.
He got stitches while we were there too.
I saw a few black eyes on a couple of the guys. Just craziness. And you actually in the third period went off the ice and you were pissed. How? When you get to the point,
I would say so.
You were mad. You were really mad. Can you tell us what you were kind of mad about, or was it just the overall experience of that night just ticked you off so much? Because we don't usually see that from you, Dan, and that kind of emotion that way is not something that we normally see from you. So you were really upset at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was upset that whole game, just how they were talking and how their coach was responding, and then just the third period that happened, and they just kept the frustration through what they had done, through how they were playing, and how the refs were responding, led to that. So that's just, it was a combination of multiple things. Like, the refs weren't handling the way they should have. They were calling things. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but like, if a team is winning 4-1 or 4-0, I don't understand how we're getting called for the tripping and hookings and how they're not. Like, we possess the puck 70% of the game, but we have all the penalties. It doesn't really make
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense how we can possess the puck 70% of the game, but we're getting all the penalties.
By the way, Michigan State won the game. That sucks. Sorry.
And
I can't.
now your Minnesota game will be on for you.
Soon. Right, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about some Minnesota hockey. During the obviously some of the road trips, you're on the bus or you're in the apartment and you're sitting there watching Minnesota high school hockey. Can you tell the fans why this is so important in your life to watch high school hockey, probably the most competitive high school hockey there is in the country?
I mean, to say it's important in my life is maybe a stretch, but I really do enjoy it. I look forward to it. But, I mean, if I miss it, I miss it. But seriously, it is one of the coolest things, and I'm happy to watch it. And I was once that kid skating up to the camera on your opening game. Skates are maybe a little tied too tight. You're nervous. You're worried about falling in front of the camera because everyone's going to record it. You're a meme. You're everywhere on social media. The guy that fell, you're nervous. And so watching all those kids go up there and the different hairstyles on the guys, all bleached, or everyone maybe buzzed their haircuts. And then the good hockey that comes from it. All those teams there are there for a reason, so it is the best of the state there. And the rivalries of teams that have won in multiple years, the state kind of roots against, even though they have nothing really against them. Everyone's rooting for a team that's never won it before. And then you always get maybe some underdogs, and it's just a really good tournament for hockey. I mean, it fills XL Energy Center every year, so it's a fun place to be.
And he's
hockey fan wise.
No, absolutely. And for the fans that don't know this, the championship day got 20,491 fans in attendance at the XL Center where the Minnesota Wild play. That's just crazy. I mean, I realize it's called the state of hockey, right? Minnesota's called the state of hockey, and I got some numbers here, and I want to play a little trivia with you, if you don't mind, if you're cool with this, right? So
let me see if I know anything.
That's fine. Minnesota has the most players actively playing right now in the NHL. Okay, and that's 49. I'll give you that number. There are 49 players actively playing in the NHL. Michigan is number 2 with 38. Massachusetts is 33, and New York is 27. Okay, so those are your top 4 teams or states right there. So I'm going to click on Minnesota. Now, there is 5 guys that are in the top 5 of the amount of games that they play that are actively playing right now from Minnesota that are playing in the NHL. Can you just randomly throw out a couple guys and see if you can nail one of the top 5 guys that are in the top 5 actively playing right now in the NHL with the amount of games that they've played?
Maybe Zach Parise?
No. Zach's not in the list. No.
Really?
No.
I don't know if I have one for you, though, because I thought he would be way up there.
2 guys.
I guess.
2 guys that are actively playing right now played with the Islanders. Both of them played with the Islanders. Both are forwards.
Oh, you're going to embarrass me here. I have no idea.
All right. Well, I will give you. So Brock Nelson.
Oh, Brock Nelson. I knew that. They posted his thing all over. He has like 961 games played.
And then you have Anders Lee.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. They post him all over the whole tournament. I even said, I was like, they keep posting Brock Nelson all over this.
That's
funny.
Oh,
my goodness.
Now, one of the guys used to play for the New York Rangers. He's a defenseman. Can you give me him?
A defenseman for the Rangers?
Well, not playing right now for the Rangers. He was their captain a couple years ago.
No, I'm going to go with no.
Ryan McDonough.
Ryan McDonough. Oh, this is a terrible showing here.
It's okay. That's okay. The other 2 that are in the top 5 are Justin Falk, which I didn't realize he was still playing in the NHL, but I guess he is. And then Brock Boeser. Those are their top 5.
Wow.
Yeah, those are the top 5 active playing right now. Those are the top 5. Obviously there's a lot of guys playing in the NHL, but there's a ton of Minnesota guys playing through all of pro sports. When you guys are playing high school hockey, right, and you guys are competing, is there ever that conversation of, I'm going to play pro hockey someday?
I mean, I feel that's everyone's goal. No matter, when you're younger, your goal is the NHL. That's everyone's goal playing youth hockey, at least in my area, was where I'm going to go play at this D1 college, and then after that I'm going to get drafted first round in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the dream of playing pro is there. And so, I mean, everyone makes it at a different level, and when I go back home and tell the kids, they're super excited to hear about the stories I have, and I just kind of give back to the community and just kind of keep feeding it back to them that, all you have to do is just keep working, listen to the people that are willing to help you.
And tell the fans what you do during the summertime to kind of give back to hockey in Minnesota.
Yeah, so I help coach at a camp at Minnesota Hockey Camps is the name of it. And I'm with the kids. They stay in a dorm for a week. We check in Sunday, check out Saturday. We're in the dorms with them as me and all the other counselors have our own rooms, and we're just supervising them, and they're on the ice twice a day, working out once, dry land. So we're just with them all the time, and then we do soccer, bring them to the beach, keep them occupied in any way that drains their energy so they're not as riled up when we're trying to get them in their rooms.
And what are the ages of these guys?
We have all sorts of ages, but mostly I would go 17, 18 is kind of the cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
High school all the way down to, I think the youngest kid we had was about 7.
Wow. Wow. And a 7-year-old kid probably
break them up to like 7 to 10 or 10 to 12, 12 to 14, 14 to up. Wow. And then, depending on how good you are, you maybe move up a level and skate with the big kids.
And you're not the only guy on the team that does these type of camps during the summertime. I know C-Mac and Tyson Kirkby did it with the elite hockey out in New England somewhere. So this is a very common thing for you guys, especially on this team with the Black Bears, to go and give back during the summertime. Sometimes some of the guys get paid to do it, and that's great, but it's really about kind of keeping the youth hockey movement going realistically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone on the team, but at some point they looked up to someone playing hockey and it's like, I want to be like them. And I'm not saying I'm that guy to every player, or like every kid I meet, but I mean, if I am that guy to a few kids, and that's awesome, because I once had that player where I looked up to him and I wanted to be like him and I wanted to be a pro hockey player. And so anything to help those little dreams and motivation in the kids.
When you're at the games at the arena, you also are kind of like, I don't know, looked up to by some of the fans, some of the young fans. I've seen pictures of you on social media. I know you don't spend a lot of time on social media. I see it. I think Bailey probably sees some of these pictures of you with some of the little kids that, come up and want to take pictures. How cool is that for you as a player being here? This is one of the best, cities to probably play hockey at, especially when you guys are so successful and the fans are so into you guys. What does it mean to you when not just an autograph or a picture with an older fan, but just even those little guys, those little girls that want to take pictures with you, Dan Wieber? How does that make you feel?
It's cool. I mean, I remember my first time coming out and someone's got a sign that says Wieber on. I was like, wow, that's awesome. And then next time I come out and someone's got their face painted with 61 on their face. And then next thing you know, someone's got my jersey customized, something they ordered and didn't buy through the team. And it's really cool seeing all these like younger fans come up and then their parents are willing to let them be excited about this. And it is a great atmosphere. I mean, besides like the hockey, like the whole upstairs guys, they put on a great production when like during intermission and making sure that kids are getting stuff and that there's stuff there for the kids. And yeah, Binghamton does a really good job. Like, I like to say the players are very good with the fans, like getting out there, signing stuff and doing what we can to keep them coming back and keeping them excited to be at a Black Bears game when we are winning a bunch. And it's a lot of fun being here. And the fans make being here a lot of fun. That's a big part of it.
But you also have such a great rapport within the locker room. This team is, I dare to say, even closer than last year's team. Is that crazy?
I mean, it's hard to compare last year's team and this year's team. We're so similar, but we're so different. We're still very good hockey players, a couple different personalities. Not saying it's better or worse in either way, but it's the same thing, just a couple different puzzle pieces, but it's still the same picture.
Yeah, it's crazy. But to me, it feels like there's been, I don't want to say drama or less drama, but it just feels like you guys have been closer and have enjoyed the ride more than even last year. And that's crazy to say because last year was pretty awesome.
Yeah, you got that right. Last year was awesome. And this year, I guess, yeah, maybe we have gone through even fewer transactions, trades, releases than last year. Because I remember last year we almost had none. And this year we're real close to zero as well. So it's sure what brings in guys that want to be here and that are wanting to win. And if they're not wanting to be here, they're using Binghamton as a stepping stone to move up to the next league so that they're not wasting their time here. So he's bringing in the right people that all have the same goal in mind.
Dan, before I get to the 6 more questions, the brand new version of 6 more questions that we normally do on Sundays, I want to ask you about a couple things. First of all, why are the Danbury hat tricks better now than they were before? And especially when there's less drama surrounding playing against the Danbury hat tricks, why is it? Because the game that we saw just a couple weeks ago, 4-3, you guys were down 3-1. You come back, you beat them 4-3. Great game. And then the next game, of course, was the Carolina Thunderbirds, which was a phenomenal. That was playoff hockey if I've ever seen it in the regular season between two teams. But the Danbury game was a great game as well. What is it about the Danbury hat tricks that makes them so competitive and so good on the ice? And such a challenge for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're the second best team in our conference right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're going to be good, and they are a better team. I'm not a guy that looks at the roster every time I play them and just is like, oh, this is a new guy, this is a new guy. I'm not really like that, but the last time we played them, they move the puck well. They're finding some chemistry. Their power play's clicking. So, and we talked about it. We know what they're going to do. We have a game plan, and we're going to go out there and execute as good as we can and hope the goals come in our favor. And there's not much more to do. Go out there and just play them hard. We know what they want to do. They're a better team. They're skating harder. They're skating with a lot more heart now, so we have to go out there and just want it more than them.
When Johnny Ruiz is on the ice, do you guys have to pay a little bit more attention to him than the other guys, or do you guys just go out there and play your game no matter who is on the ice?
I mean, when he's out there, he's definitely, you got to keep an eye on him, know where he's at, because he will find soft areas. He's a good shooter. He scores goals. It's why he has the repertoire he has.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we might line match for a little bit depending on how the first period goes, but I'm not sure what's ear or in his brain, but I'm confident with any of our guys against any of their lines. We have the guys that know how to do the right stuff all the time, and as long as they're doing that, I'm not scared of any line against any of our lines.
So one of the guys from last year is coming back. As we're recording this here on Thursday night, everyone's going to hear this on Sunday. One of the guys from last year, he was on the show this past week. Liam Anderson is coming back in. How exciting is it for you guys to every once in a while see some of these guys come back? Sam Levici was in the arena, I think, a couple weeks ago as well. How cool is it to have someone like L.A. come back, even for just a game? And I know on Friday night he's going to get his ring, which is really cool for him. How cool is that for you guys to see guys like that come in?
Oh, it's awesome. I'm so excited to see him. I mean, any of those guys last year, Smitty, Wally, I know I'm missing some off the top of my head, but
Logs,
those guys
Smitty, yep.
Yeah, Logar, yeah, you could go down the list better than I could off the top of my head. But it's like all those guys, they're our brothers from last year. It doesn't, just because they're not here, it doesn't mean we don't miss them at all. We wish they could be here, but we know hockey isn't forever, so especially, I mean, I'm excited to hear how it went for LA.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear his stories and the hockey, the living, and just
ask him about
all about it.
Dan, I'm telling you right now, ask him about the nightlife. Just ask. He said he thought he partied hard at Cortland, SUNY Cortland. Trust me, just ask him about the nightlife. He's got stories.
All right.
He's got stories. He's got like a couple days he doesn't remember. Let's just put it that way. Which is great, right? I mean,
I love to hear him. I'm looking forward to listening to him.
All right. So let me ask you the 6 more questions, that the new ones that we have for this year. And then I'm going to go watch some Golden Gophers hockey, because, that's why not? So let me ask you. All right, yeah. Number one, who is the greatest influence in your hockey playing career?
The greatest influence?
Yeah. Who's the person that influenced you the most in your hockey playing career?
I would say Dave Morey, my neighbor. He really took time out of his day. He played at Michigan State, and when we built a pond at our house, he really took time, would come over, work with me all the time, and he really just kind of grew my hobby into a passion.
How old were you when he started working with you?
I would say the ages from 6 to 10, maybe.
Gotcha.
Maybe like 8 to 12, maybe.
That's
somewhere in there.
That's an important time period for the growth of a hockey player when they're that young. So having that good influence is, very important in someone's career.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have him because he was a very smart hockey coach, and I'm sure he's coaching somewhere now.
All right, number 2. Name the one pregame ritual that you have to do before every game.
I broke this in Blue Ridge, I believe.
Uh-oh.
Because we didn't have a soccer ball, but I love playing
Sewer ball.
sewer before the games.
Wait,
Gets my competitive edge going a little bit.
so was it before the Saturday game that this got broken or the Friday game?
I'm trying to think of what game it was. Yeah, but I think we showed up without a ball.
So
We didn't have any.
So you didn't be able to do it on Friday then.
I think it was Friday. We didn't have a ball.
So no ball didn't cause the streak to end. So that's okay. That's okay then.
It's okay. So it's not the end of the world if I miss it, but in my mind, I thought it was.
But why is that important to you? Why is playing sewer ball so important to you?
I don't know. It's more of what I love about hockey, just being with the guys. It's just another. I love playing sports, being athletic. So it's challenging because the other guys are better than you, and so it gets the feet moving, your hips. You're active. I like going for every ball just to get my reactive skills going, and definitely competitive once you get into it.
Okay, so who's the best at it on the team?
The best player?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to think.
It's got to be somebody that you would say probably doesn't miss the kick that often or is just really good at it.
I want to go. I got 4 guys that are in my top.
Okay, give them to me.
Oliveri.
Really?
Not in order. This isn't in order.
No. I completely understand. But you have him in your top 4. Oliveri, the Don father, the grandfather to most of you guys, because he's so old. He is really good at it. Okay.
Being that old, you've played a lot of games.
And he's good at it. Okay.
He's good at it. So then I have to go with Gavin Yates.
Fair enough.
Dan Stone.
Okay.
And I think Zach Sirota might be. He's really active. So
he's a ball of energy out on the ice, isn't he?
He's a rat. He's a rat in the sewer ring as much as he is on the ice.
Awesome. All right. Number 3, vacation destination. Are you a beach guy, camping, or staycation?
I like camping.
Well, from where
I'll go in the woods and make some marshmallows.
Hunt for your own food, right?
Yeah, hunt fish as long as the camp's by a lake.
Yep. There you go. Okay, very good. All right, number 4, outside of hockey, are you an MLB, NBA, NFL, MLS, or a PGA guy?
I think I'm an NFL guy.
Okay.
I love the Vikings.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this year. I think they're going to win the division over the Lions.
Really?
It's going to be
That's a bold prediction.
It's going to be the best division in the NFL next year. Is going to be
Green Bay's got a good quarterback. I mean, you guys have a tough division this year.
We have J.J. McCarthy, and we just beefed up our entire defensive line. We're going to win every trench battle. I'm excited for the NFL season to start.
Awesome. If you were picking a movie, would it be comedy, drama, sci-fi, romantic, or horror?
I might even go action movie.
Oh,
it's either
action.
comedy or action.
Awesome.
Like I like the Marvel movies, but I'm also it's like Seth Rogen or any of those movies. I'm hilarious.
Awesome. All right, Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right, number 6. It's the same as last year. Number 6, a zombie apocalypse has broken out in the arena. You're trapped in the hockey arena. Who is the one person, dead or alive, fictional or non-fictional, that you would like to have in the arena with you? If you could pick one person.
One person, I don't know. You said it's the same as last year. I still forgot what I said last year.
It's all good. Who, listen.
Zombie apocalypse I would go like Bear Grylls or... Yeah, he's going to survive. Bear Grylls.
Okay. That works.
Or maybe Bill Nye. No, I like Bear Grylls. He's more of a survivalist.
Bill Nye, the science guy. You know what? I might have to write that one down. That's Wieber's answer to that one. I'm going to have Bill Nye because he's going to come up with something to keep us alive, right?
Hey, he's smart, man. He'll come up with something.
I just love that. That's almost as nerdy as Eggy saying Genghis Khan, right? It's like. I love it. That's good. Dan, thank you very much for coming on. As always, it's a pleasure to get to talk to you. You've always got a smile on your face when you see me. It's a pleasure all the time. When is your father and mother getting back into town?
Last time I spoke to them, they said they're going to take a little break after they drove back and forth and back-to-back weekends. So they'll be back for playoffs for sure. They're not sure what weekend, but they'll be back in there. They're excited for playoffs.
Are you excited for playoffs?
I can't wait. It's when the real season starts.
That's right. That is the right answer, my friend. All right, Weebs, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good to talk to you again.
All right. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I want to thank Dan Wieber for coming on. I know this was a long episode, but we had a great time with Dan Wieber, and there was really some important things I wanted to talk about in the first segment of the show. But the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lepolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our music director, and of course, from the Binghamton Black Bears defenseman, Dan Wieber. I am Bob Howard. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday as we preview the Athens series, and we'll have assistant coach Mason Esworthy of the Black Bears and new head coach of the Elmira Hockey Club team on the show as well. So until next time, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.